Now, if you guys saw my first prediction video, it was Resident Evil 6 predictions. That was it was a little while back ago, back in October, I believe. Guess. Well, frankly, I predicted better of that game. I was disappointed in it. I have it. I played it. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have expected so much out of it, but it did do certain things right. Okay, so essentially with Resident Evil 6, the main flaws, I mean, you probably already heard this, but who knows, are essentially just the fact that it just feels like an over-budget action movie, like Transformers or something. Feels like Michael Bay directed it, because, I mean, yes, since 4, it has taken a more cinematic, whatever you want to call it, approach, but see, it's taking away the horror element a little bit, especially, I mean, 5 was should barely considered a horror game by my standards. In 6, I mean, it had parts. I mean, Leon's campaign was classic feeling, but it just didn't have that same feel, if you know what I'm talking about. The gameplay felt a bit clunky, and the cutscenes were just really uninspired action sequences. And they brought back the quick time events, which, I mean, to a lot of people's dismay, but of course, I mean, what did you expect? Did you really expect them to take that away? I sure as hell didn't. Well, frankly, like I said before, I mean, it's just, okay, Resident Evil 4 is a phenomenal game because it pulled off this newer style, I mean, if I can say that loosely, of horror game, but it was still scary because of the execution. I don't think any game has exactly that I've played has been like that for a while. I mean, Amnesia was a good horror game in my opinion. But off the top of my head, I can't think of many horror games that were really all that great nowadays, recently. And that's just a terrible thing. The Silent Hill series has gone down the toilet. Homecoming was such a big disappointment. And I haven't even got to play Downpour yet, but I really have no interest in it. Um, Resident Evil 4 has this bad legacy to it. It's a great, phenomenal game, but it just kind of shifted the path of horror games to something more that isn't horror, isn't Alone in the Dark, isn't the original Resident Evils, isn't the original Silent Hills, isn't the first Fear. It just isn't. All of these horror franchises are considerably dropping off the map, or at least dropping off the map of credibility, especially in my eyes. And that's just sad because it was one of the better genres of the 1990s. I mean, even the early 2000s a bit. But frankly, mid 2000s. I gotta add that just because of Resident Evil, but Resident Evil 4, but it just didn't go well for me. Resident Evil 6 seemed clunky. The AI was a bit off still from the fifth one. Resident Evil 6 just had bad AI. Its multiplayer was a nice touch, but I mean, it really wasn't anything too special. It didn't save the game or anything. Each campaign was considerably different, but not in any surprising sense. Essentially, Chris's campaign is a shooter like 5, Resident Evil 5 basically, kind of. I mean, you can compare it a little bit. Leon's is more comparable to Resident Evil 4 style of play, and, God, I don't even remember the other guy's name. I think his name was Jake. Whoever the hell Wesker's son is, the other guy you play as. His campaign was basically just like all action sequences. It had a lot of running to it. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like they were trying to satisfy too many people. It seemed like they tried to get the entire demographic of every Resident Evil fan, and it just ended up, like, appealing to that demographic, and it just ended up blowing in their face. Because I have not met a Resident Evil fan yet that has really enjoyed this game. most give it pretty damn low scores, especially different review sites like GameSpot's score was, ugh, that was a little uncalled for. I gotta say, that was a little dramatized. They gave it a 4.5 out of 10, and I don't think it was that bad. I mean, I think it maybe deserves like a 6.5, maybe about. It sounds like a fair trade because it did some things right. It took some elements from all the other old games, obviously, mashed them together, which at times worked and at times felt, I guess, like an older Resident Evil game. But then the action sequences and all the other shit just remind you the bad AI, the just unsatisfying nature of playing through the campaign just reminded you that you're not playing you're not living through a true Resident Evil experience, and that's just saddening to me because I'm a big fan of the series. Essentially, I think that Capcom is just going down the toilet. They're basically the Japanese version of EA. They're just they just seem really greedy, which everybody already knows, and all of their franchises are just going down the toilet, and it's a sad, sad truth. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a sad time for video games sometimes, especially with companies like Capcom. If you want to comment, I mean, maybe I'll give you guys something to comment if you guys want to. Give me your favorite Capcom franchise and tell me about what you think of the latest installments of that franchise and where you think Capcom will go with that franchise in the future. Again, thanks for watching. Pop that like button if you want to, and maybe hit that subscribe bar if you want to too. Maybe. I'm not begging. Screw that shit. Anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Look for more gaming videos, and be sure to check us out in the future. Thank you.